Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today I am going to both ask and then answer the question, where the hell did all the water go? Now, for those of you who might not be aware, for the better part of the last century, in a mostly consistent manner, we have been slowly but surely running out of water. Rainfalls and snowfalls have been diminishing. The amount of water captured in systems and aquifers is reducing. And of course, all of the constant drilling is literally leaching all the water out of the subterranean water tables. So, since we're heading into the hot season, I thought I would give everybody a preview of what the 2021 water wars are going to look like and how the hell we can possibly level the playing field. Here we go. Let's kick it off by showing you where the hell we're at right now. Over in Colorado, their reservoir levels are 50 feet below average. In Lake Tahoe, there is so little water, boats can't float. And over in Utah, the lakes are so low, the boat ramps are useless because you would still have to take your damn boat and push it off a fucking ledge before it dropped down into the water. So in case you were wondering where we were at, we're kind of at this point here, and summer hasn't even started. So let's take a look at a few of the things that are causing this. Well, to start with, melting snow? Yeah, not so much a thing. And even when it is a thing, it's not really doing the thing that the thing is supposed to do. There's still snow in Colorado's mountains near the headwaters of the South Platte River, and Brian Domancos has strapped on a pair of cross-country skis to come measure it. He's the Colorado Snow Survey Supervisor, and knowing how much snowpack is left from the winter to run off into streams, rivers, and reservoirs this summer is crucial, especially in a year when much of the West is in extreme drought. As it melts, the snowpack here will become the primary source of water for millions of people in Colorado and across the West. As you are about to find out, there is a very natural cycle that used to occur for a long time that made this sort of thing possible. All of a sudden, it's not happening the way it should. For the record, in the literary field, we call this opening foreshadowing. Buckle up, here it comes. The snowpack at the South Platte's headwaters is over 110% of normal levels for this time of year. But that's not the case for the rest of the state. In southwest Colorado, it's less than 40% in areas that are already experiencing historic drought. The trend is concerning, and part of how the warming climate is disrupting this delicate system in multiple ways. Quote, "That might be the real wow factor for me, where these soil moisture deficits and low stream flows that we're seeing in the fall prior are having such a massive impact on the current year's streams." So it turns out, as with all things ecological, when you change one thing, a whole bunch of other things change. There is a chain reaction, and it looks like the chain reaction of us superheating the goddamn planet so that we can sell more cars is not going as well as intended. Year after year now, unusually dry soil from warmer than normal temperatures and a lack of moisture are absorbing a lot of the water that melts from the snowpack. This means that water isn't making it into rivers and streams, essentially limiting the efficiency of the melting snow. Melting snow is no longer getting into aquifers and being fed into civic water treatment plants. It's now being immediately absorbed by the dirt at the base of the mountains that used to be damp year-round. It's not damp year-round because it's so fucking hot out and we're getting far less rain. So guess what? None of that water is making its way downhill. Also, I'm going to assume that this spells trouble for the tens of millions of people that live downhill. Meanwhile, over on the West Coast, it has gotten so bad on the California-Oregon border that government officials are now having to determine which industries and towns are going to live or die by how they divert the little remaining amount of water that they have left today before the hot, dry summer has even started. The water crisis went from dire to catastrophic this week as federal regulators shut off irrigation water to farmers from a critical reservoir and said they would not send extra water to dying salmon downstream or to a half dozen wildlife refuges that harbor millions of migrating birds each year. In what is shaping up to be the worst water crisis in generations, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation said it will not release water this season into the main canal that feeds the bulk of the massive reclamation project, marking a first for the 114-year-old irrigation system. The agency announced last month that hundreds of irrigators would get dramatically less water than usual. But a worsening drought picture means water will be completely shut off instead. And again, I would be remiss if I did not remind you that we are just getting into summer drought and wildfire season. It hasn't even started yet. Irrigators, meanwhile, reacted with disbelief as the news of a water shutoff in the canals spread. A newsletter published by the Klamath Water Users Association, which represents many of the region's farmers, blared the headline, "Worst Day in the History of the Klamath Project." Farmers reported already seeing dust storms that obscured vision for 100 yards, and they worried about their wells running dry in May. And for some quick visual reference, this right here shows how bad the drought conditions are. The darker the color, the worse the drought, which is going to make this next part of the segment really, really weird. In Arizona, they are already planning for the drought. They know it's coming. The Colorado River is moving low and slow. Now, if you take a look at this picture down here, you'll notice that all these mountains are really dark, except for the bottom, by the water, where the rock is all white. It's white because it's been underwater for the last 100 years, but it's not underwater anymore because the Colorado River keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And because Arizona is at the ass end of this river, they know the drought is coming. And yet, in their infinite wisdom, they have decided to move forward with an enormous data center being built just outside of Mesa. A massive new data center is set to be built in Mesa, Arizona after the city council voted in favor of a controversial development agreement. Critics noted that the huge facility would consume millions of gallons of water as the city and state struggle with dwindling supplies. The company behind the project has hidden its identity, operating via the pseudonym Redale LLC. Signs point to it being a Facebook data center. I have very serious concerns about our water in Arizona, Mesa Vice Mayor Jen Duff said during the council sessions ahead of the vote. Quote, "As we form Mesa's climate action plan and embark upon the first phase of the 7-state drought contingency plan, making cutbacks to agriculture, I cannot in good conscience approve this mega data center using 1.7 million gallons of water per day." Mesa is already home to several large data centers operating or under construction, including Apple, Google, EdgeCore, CyrusOne, Digital Realty, NTT, Raging Wire, and Edge Connects. Each facility in the Elliott Road Technology Corridor has different water requirements, with some primarily relying on air cooling. The largest facility, the currently under construction Google campus, will consume 1 million gallons a day to start and is allowed to increase that to 4 million gallons a day as the site builds out. To meet that demand, the company will receive half of its water from the Colorado River. You remember the one from the beginning where all the rock was white because there's no fucking water? That one? Yeah, okay. In 2019, lawmakers unveiled a contingency plan to try to get states that rely on the river to take voluntary conservation measures. The other half comes from on-site wells and water rights from ground and surface water. Now we get into the dirty corporate angle of water. Water rights. Let me paint you a little picture just so you know what it looks like. Water rights are when a company gets a very small parcel of land, They get permission to drill on it. And then they drill like 2,000 fucking feet down through 9 different water aquifers and pump out all the fucking water that technically feeds groundwater for hundreds of miles in every direction. And they leach it all out and they put it into their fucking data center, or they put it into their Coca-Cola bottling plant, or they put it into their fucking Nestle plant. And the next thing you know, there is no water for 100 miles in every direction. But don't worry, you can buy a 2-liter bottle of Coke for $1.99. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you live in the Midwest, your water rights are essentially controlled by big corn, big wheat, and big soy because they feed into 14 other industries, including gasoline, processed food, secondary energy. So they're always going to get the water they get. But on the coasts, it's getting really bad. You can only drill wells so deep before you hit salinized water. So digging more wells and digging deeper wells isn't really an option on either coast. So my suggestion to you all is A, for the love of God, stop buying bottled soda and bottled water. Yes, I say this with the caveat, understanding that there are many places in the United States of America where people are forced to drink bottled water because what comes out of their tap is poisonous and their local city hasn't decided to replace the pipes yet, even though their local city is already busy selling their water rights out to Nestle or Coca-Cola or Facebook or to whatever corporation wants to steal billions of gallons of water for pennies on the dollar. So please, it is time to start ratcheting up the pressure on both government officials and the corporations they sell out to, who keep giving away your water just so 1 or 2 people can materially benefit, while millions of other people do without. So start organizing, start getting involved, because no matter where you live, if you go onto social media and you just drop in a couple of keystrokes, chances are there is already a group in your area working to restore water rights to people rather than corporations, corporate interests, and the finance bros around the world who profit when those industries do well. Look out after each other, people, because when resources get scarce, society gets tight. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet and I am out. Peace.